As Hurricane Harvey unleashed its fury on Texas in August 2017, another storm was brewing in the life of 37-year-old Crystal McDowell. The mother of two had recently divorced, started a promising career in real estate, and found new love. But as rain pounded the Houston area on August 25th, Crystal sent a final text before driving to her ex-husband's home and vanished. While a community battled historic flooding, Crystal's family fought desperately to find her amid the chaos. The devastating storm would both complicate and eventually help solve one of Baytown's most heartbreaking crimes. If this is your first time with us, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us continue telling these important stories. But before Crystal's final day, we must understand how a childhood marked by extraordinary hardship shaped the woman she would become. Crystal McDowell was born on October 26, 1979, in Baytown, Texas. From her earliest days, she faced extraordinary challenges that would have broken many others. Her parents, Pamela and Anthony, both struggled with severe addiction issues that made their home life chaotic and unstable. The first decade of Crystal's childhood was marked by unpredictable living conditions. Some nights were spent in temporary housing, others with relatives who stepped in during her parents' worst periods. Despite this tumultuous environment, those who knew Crystal as a child remarked on her resilience and ability to find joy even in difficult circumstances. Tragedy struck when Crystal was only 11 years old. Within the span of a few short months, she lost both parents to apparent drug overdoses. The double loss would have devastating effects on any child. But for Crystal, it meant not only emotional trauma, but also complete upheaval of her already fragile world. Following her parents' deaths, Crystal's grandmother became her primary caretaker. Later, her uncle Jeff Wallers also played a significant role in raising her, providing a more stable foundation than she had previously known. Despite the trauma of her early years, Crystal developed into a vibrant young woman with a magnetic personality. Friends from her teenage years would later describe Crystal as someone with a radiant smile that could light up any room. Her striking blue eyes and warm demeanor made her instantly likable to nearly everyone she met. Those closest to her noted her remarkable ability to overcome adversity, describing her as driven, upbeat, and adventurous. The hardships of Crystal's childhood instilled in her a profound yearning for stability and security, particularly regarding family life. She often spoke about wanting to create the kind of secure, loving home she never experienced as a child. This desire would influence many of her later life decisions, especially her fierce dedication to providing her own children with the stable upbringing she had been denied. Though her early years were filled with more challenges than most people face in a lifetime, Crystal's determination to create a better life for herself never wavered. Her ability to persevere through such profound early trauma was a testament to her extraordinary inner strength. Despite her difficult upbringing, Crystal's resilience would lead her to a career that perfectly matched her adventurous spirit, though it would also lead her to a relationship that would ultimately prove fatal. Crystal found her calling in the skies. For 15 years she worked as a flight attendant, traversing the country and experiencing the world in a way that perfectly complemented her adventurous personality. The job offered her independence, excitement, and the opportunity to meet people from all walks of life. Elements that resonated deeply with someone who had spent her childhood craving stability, yet valuing freedom. During these years of travel, Crystal met Stephen Wayne McDowell, 7 years her senior. Stephen cut an imposing physical figure, but was often described as gentle and soft-spoken by those who knew him. Their relationship progressed quickly, with Crystal apparently drawn to his calm demeanor and seeming stability. After a period of courtship, they married in April 2007, creating what Crystal hoped would be the family unit she had always yearned for. Stephen brought a daughter from a previous marriage into their new family. He worked as a shipping manager, though colleagues would later reveal that his employment history was inconsistent. This professional instability created an imbalance in their relationship, as Crystal quickly became the primary breadwinner for their growing family. The couple soon welcomed 2 children of their own, and on the surface, they appeared to have achieved the stable family life Crystal had always desired. Their home in Baytown, Texas became the center of birthday parties, holiday gatherings, and weekend barbecues. To casual observers, the McDowells seemed to be living the American dream. Behind closed doors, however, the reality was more complicated. As Crystal's career flourished, Stephen reportedly grew increasingly jealous of her independence and frequent travel. Friends later recounted that he began suspecting her of infidelity during her trips, though there was never any evidence to support these accusations. Those close to Crystal noted that she deeply cherished her family and prioritized creating stability for her children. The contrast between her successful career and Stephen's professional struggles added another layer of tension to their marriage. While Crystal continued to excel professionally, providing for her family and building her career, the foundations of her marriage were beginning to crack. While Crystal thrived professionally, Stephen's jealousy and insecurity were creating fractures in their marriage that would soon force Crystal to make a life-changing decision. In 2016, after a decade and a half as a flight attendant, Crystal made a pivotal career change. She joined her family's real estate business, a decision that would allow her to spend more time at home while continuing to support her family financially. Her uncle Jeff welcomed her proudly, noting that she represented the third generation in their real estate legacy. The career transition seemed ideal for Crystal. Her natural charm, professionalism, and ability to connect with people made her well-suited for real estate. Colleagues quickly noticed her dedication and skill, commenting that she had found her second calling. Clients were drawn to her warmth and authenticity, and she began building a solid reputation in the local housing market. What many didn't know was that Crystal had confided in close friends about another motivation behind her career change. She had begun considering divorce, and believed that being more locally rooted would help her secure custody of her children if her marriage ended. This strategic decision revealed both her foresight and her growing concerns about her relationship with Stephen. By February 2017, the tensions in their marriage had reached a breaking point. Crystal filed for divorce, citing years of emotional strain and incompatibility. While she hoped for an amicable separation, events took a troubling turn on March 20th, when she called 911 to report that Stephen had threatened both her and their children. Responding officers treated the situation as a precautionary matter rather than a criminal case. At the time, no formal custody agreements were in place, meaning Stephen still had legal rights to be with his children. When authorities attempted to contact Stephen about the threats, they were unable to reach him, raising Crystal's anxiety further. Several days after the reported threats, Stephen returned the children to Crystal. She ultimately decided not to press charges, telling friends she wanted to de-escalate tensions for the children's sake. Those close to Crystal later revealed that she was doing everything possible to ensure the divorce proceedings remained civil, always prioritizing her children's emotional well-being over her own grievances. Crystal's colleagues at the real estate office noticed her stress during this period, but also remarked on her professionalism and determination to keep moving forward. She never missed appointments with clients and continued to build her new career despite the personal turmoil she was experiencing at home. While Crystal sought to maintain peace for her children's sake, Stephen's daughter revealed concerning insights about her father's state of mind that would prove prophetic. The divorce was finalized in June 2017. On paper, it appeared amicable. Crystal and Stephen maintained a cordial relationship for the sake of their children, with Crystal even helping Stephen find and purchase a new home while she worked on renovating her own property. To outsiders, they seemed to be handling the separation with remarkable maturity and cooperation. Beneath this veneer of civility, however, troubling patterns emerged. Family members later revealed that Crystal frequently asked them not to mention her plans or outings to Stephen, fearing these would trigger his anger. Even innocent activities like meeting a friend for coffee could provoke his jealousy and resentment. Despite these precautions, Crystal continued to support Stephen emotionally, checking in with him regularly about his well-being. Though legally divorced, Stephen's behavior suggested he refused to accept the reality of their separation. His social media activity during this period painted a disturbing picture of his mental state. Shortly after the divorce was finalized, he changed his profile photo to an image of a tombstone, then to one of Santa Muerte, the Mexican folk saint of death, before reverting to a picture of himself and Crystal together. More concerning were Stephen's social media posts, which portrayed the image of a happy, intact family despite the legal end of their marriage. Crystal's aunt noticed that Stephen frequently posted about bringing Crystal coffee in bed and pampering her, creating a fictional narrative of ongoing domestic bliss that existed only in his mind. When questioned about these posts, Stephen assured Crystal he was coming to terms with their separation and trying to rebuild his life. He claimed to understand that their marriage was over, but his actions suggested otherwise. Friends observed that Stephen seemed stuck in denial, unable to imagine a future without Crystal as his wife. In a final attempt to maintain a peaceful co-parenting relationship, Crystal agreed to a family cruise with Stephen and their children. While intended as a gesture of goodwill, this decision may have inadvertently reinforced Stephen's delusion that reconciliation was possible. The boundaries between them grew increasingly blurred, creating a dangerous ambiguity in their relationship. Just as Stephen seemed unable to move forward, Crystal's life was about to take a new turn that would set in motion a chain of tragic events. In August 2017, At 37 years old, Crystal met Paul, a local jeweler and fellow single parent whose charisma and drive immediately caught her attention. Their connection was instant and profound. Paul shared Crystal's love for travel, adventure, and building a stable life for their children. For the first time since her marriage began unraveling, Crystal experienced genuine happiness and excitement about the future. Crystal confided in her family about Paul, but asked them to keep the relationship private until she could find the right moment to tell Stephen. Despite being legally divorced, she still feared his reaction and wanted to approach the subject with sensitivity, both for his feelings and for the sake of their co-parenting relationship. Yet Crystal's newfound happiness was difficult to contain. On August 23, 2017, she posted a message on social media expressing that she had never been this happy, and that her heart was full of a joy she never thought possible. She concluded the post with, "God is so good," a testament to how transformative this new relationship felt to her after years of emotional struggle. Just 2 days later, on the morning of August 25th, Crystal woke up at Paul's house as Hurricane Harvey approached the Texas coast. The massive storm was bearing down on the region, prompting emergency preparations throughout Houston and surrounding areas. Despite the approaching hurricane, Crystal had responsibilities to attend to, both as a mother and as a real estate agent. At 7:01 a.m., Crystal sent a text message to Stephen asking if he had stocked up on clean water for their children. She informed him that she was heading to his house to shelter with them during the hurricane, and mentioned plans to visit a property afterward for a scheduled showing. These mundane details, checking on preparations for the storm, planning a work appointment, gave no indication of the danger she was walking into. Paul's home security system captured the final confirmed images of Crystal alive that morning. The footage showed her first in the kitchen, then walking outside wearing heels and holding her phone as she got into her black Mercedes-Benz. She appeared calm and focused, unaware that these would be her last moments captured on camera. As the hurricane began to bear down on Texas, Crystal drove towards Stephen's home, but the storm outside would pale in comparison to the one waiting for her. Later that day, Crystal's Uncle Jeff grew increasingly concerned when he couldn't reach her by phone. As business partners in the family real estate venture, they maintained regular contact, especially regarding property showings and client meetings. Jeff had been trying to inform her that their scheduled showing had been canceled due to the approaching hurricane. After multiple unanswered calls, Jeff contacted Stephen, who responded with a text message allegedly from Crystal's phone. The message, sent at approximately 9:30 a.m., claimed Crystal planned to pick up the children and drive to Dallas to escape the hurricane. This immediately raised red flags for Jeff. Crystal never changed plans without communicating directly with him, especially regarding work commitments, and her phone was essential to her business and personal life. Alarmed by the suspicious message and Crystal's uncharacteristic silence, Jeff contacted police to report her missing before noon on August 25th. While authorities initially suggested she might have evacuated due to Hurricane Harvey, Jeff insisted this behavior was completely out of character for his meticulous niece. As floodwaters from Hurricane Harvey began inundating Houston on August 26th, Jeff and 2 family members confronted Stephen at his home. When questioned, Stephen claimed Crystal hadn't been to his house for over a week, a statement immediately contradicted by his own daughter, who stated she had hugged her mother just the day before. That same day, a sheriff's deputy conducted a welfare check at Stephen's residence and made troubling discoveries. Crystal's black dress was found in the washing machine, and her purse and handbag were still in the house. Clear indications she had recently been there, directly contradicting Stephen's claims. For Jeff, who had helped raise Crystal after her parents' deaths, these inconsistencies confirmed his worst fears about Stephen's involvement in her disappearance. However, the timing couldn't have been worse for launching a full investigation. Hurricane Harvey had devastated the region, with many law enforcement officers dealing with flooded homes and emergency rescues rather than focusing on a missing person case. As Crystal's family desperately sought answers, the hurricane's devastation would complicate their search, but not stop them from uncovering the disturbing truth. With official search efforts hampered by Hurricane Harvey's catastrophic flooding, Jeff took matters into his own hands. He reached out to local media outlets hoping to generate public awareness about Crystal's disappearance, but found himself competing with round-the-clock storm coverage. His pleas for help were largely overshadowed by images of flooded neighborhoods and dramatic water rescues. As days passed with no significant progress from law enforcement, Jeff made the decision to hire a private investigator, a move that created immediate friction with local authorities. Both the police chief and the district attorney voiced strong objections to an outside investigator entering Crystal's home, arguing that critical evidence could be compromised. This disagreement marked the beginning of an increasingly tense relationship between Crystal's family and those officially tasked with finding her. Refusing to be deterred, Jeff and Paul joined forces to establish a $15,000 reward for information leading to Crystal's whereabouts. They launched a social media campaign that finally began gaining traction, with Crystal's face and story reaching thousands of concerned citizens across Texas. The public response was immediate and overwhelming, generating numerous tips and leads. However, as the investigation intensified, suspicion began falling not only on Stephen, but also on Jeff and Paul. Despite Jeff's tireless efforts to locate his niece, law enforcement treated him with noticeable skepticism. Some officials questioned his motives, and whispers about his private life, specifically his same-sex relationships, circulated in conservative Baytown. Family members later suggested these biases may have colored how authorities viewed his involvement in the case. The tension reached a boiling point when the local police commander dismissed Jeff's concerns during a national broadcast, describing him as overly emotional and characterizing his advocacy as an obstacle to the case. This public undermining of Jeff's credibility devastated Crystal's family, who believed precious time was being wasted on internal conflicts rather than finding her. Paul Hargrave faced similar scrutiny. After submitting to a polygraph test that yielded inconclusive results, investigators began questioning his credibility. He further complicated matters by releasing surveillance footage from his home directly to news stations, instead of providing it first to law enforcement, creating additional friction with the investigation team. Meanwhile, Stephen was described by investigators as polite, helpful, and fully cooperative, despite family and friends characterizing the marriage as deeply troubled and potentially abusive. While investigators pursued multiple angles, a discovery was about to shift the focus squarely onto Stephen McDowell. On Tuesday, August 29th, as floodwaters began receding, a breakthrough finally came. A family friend participating in the search effort spotted Crystal's black Mercedes-Benz parked outside a rundown motel in an area that had been flagged during the online campaign. The vehicle's doors were unlocked, with the keys sitting plainly visible in the center console. Circumstances investigators later described as appearing staged for theft. The only reason the car hadn't been stolen, they suggested, was that the flooded parking lot had made it temporarily inaccessible. When investigators reviewed surveillance footage from businesses surrounding the motel, they discovered crucial evidence. Video showed Crystal's Mercedes entering the motel parking lot at approximately 6:37 a.m. on August 26th. More tellingly, just 5 hours later, Stephen was captured on camera at a nearby gas station. Oddly, he didn't purchase any gas. Instead, he simply drove toward the motel area, behavior consistent with someone checking if the abandoned vehicle had been discovered. Even more incriminating was additional surveillance footage capturing a hooded figure matching Stephen's build, riding a bicycle through the rain near the motel that same morning. This mysterious cyclist appeared to be avoiding main roads and security cameras, taking a circuitous route through the area where Crystal's car was abandoned. The investigation took a dramatic turn when detectives located footage from a Walmart located directly across the highway from the motel. The video showed a man strongly resembling Stephen purchasing a bicycle early on the morning of August 26th. He paid in cash and left hurriedly, and the timing aligned perfectly with the later sighting of the hooded cyclist. Despite this mounting evidence, Stephen maintained his innocence, continuing to deny any involvement in Crystal's disappearance. When confronted with the video evidence, he offered vague and inconsistent explanations that failed to satisfy investigators. Nevertheless, authorities cited a lack of direct proof when they allowed him to return home with the children, a decision that outraged Crystal's family. In a desperate plea to the district attorney, Jeff reminded officials that Crystal had previously filed a report stating Stephen had threatened to harm their children if she ever left him, a warning that now took on chilling new significance. With mounting evidence pointing to Stephen, authorities finally took action that would lead to the devastating truth about Crystal's fate. It wasn't until September 8th, nearly 2 weeks after Crystal vanished, that the district attorney finally intervened in the case. With evidence mounting against Stephen, authorities placed the children in protective custody and brought him in for formal questioning. Even at this critical juncture, Stephen seemed to maintain a strange level of control over the process. He requested to return home for one final night to put his affairs in order, promising to provide a full confession the following morning. Crystal's family was horrified by this arrangement, fearing Stephen might take his own life during this unsupervised period and thereby escape justice. Their concerns reflected the agonizing helplessness they had experienced throughout the investigation. watching as authorities made decisions they believed endangered the pursuit of truth and justice for Crystal. Contrary to their fears, on September 9, 2017, Stephen kept his word. He returned to the police station and confessed to killing Crystal. According to his statement, Crystal had arrived at his home on the morning of August 25th as Hurricane Harvey approached. During what began as a discussion about hurricane preparations, Crystal mentioned her new relationship with Paul. She reportedly told Stephen that Paul, not him, would be accompanying her and the children on an upcoming family trip. This revelation, combined with Crystal's admission that she had just spent the night with Paul, sent Stephen into a rage. While their children slept upstairs, he attacked Crystal from behind and strangled her to death in the living room. After the murder, Stephen wrapped her body in a blanket, placed it in his car trunk, and before sunrise, drove to a wooded area near his home where he disposed of her remains. Despite confessing to the murder, Stephen refused to disclose Crystal's exact location, unless prosecutors agreed not to seek the death penalty. Given the extensive damage caused by Hurricane Harvey and the time that had passed, authorities feared locating her remains would be impossible without Stephen's cooperation. After careful consideration, prosecutors accepted his terms. Later that day, Stephen led investigators to a remote, overgrown area where Crystal's body had been left exposed to the elements for nearly 2 weeks. Her remains were found in an advanced state of decomposition, a final indignity in a case marked by tragedy from beginning to end. Medical examiners confirmed her identity through dental records and officially ruled the death a homicide by strangulation. While Stephen's confession revealed how Crystal died, the trial would uncover an even more heartbreaking detail. A silent witness to the murder had been keeping a terrible secret. Stephen McDowell, 44, was formally charged with first-degree murder. Bail was set at $500,000, an amount he couldn't pay, resulting in his confinement until trial. For nearly 2 years, Crystal's family waited for justice as the legal process slowly advanced. During this time, according to court records, Stephen showed no remorse for his actions, maintaining that Crystal's death was an impulsive act rather than premeditated murder. The trial finally began in June 2019. Stephen's defense team pursued a strategy common in Texas law, arguing that he had acted in a sudden passion rather than with premeditation. Under Texas statutes, this distinction could significantly reduce his potential sentence. His attorneys even suggested that Crystal's death resulted from a consensual encounter gone wrong, a claim that deeply disturbed her family and friends. Prosecutors methodically dismantled this narrative by presenting evidence of Stephen's controlling behavior throughout their marriage and his inability to accept the divorce. Text messages, witness statements, and the testimony of friends established a pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation that culminated in murder when he finally lost control of the situation. Perhaps the most devastating testimony came from Mandy Avalos, Crystal's lifelong friend who had become guardian to her children. In December 2017, 3 months after her mother's disappearance, 5-year-old Maui revealed a terrible secret she had been keeping. The little girl described waking up the morning her mother vanished and hearing her parents arguing. She had gone downstairs to investigate and witnessed Stephen pushing Crystal onto their bed and placing his hands over her nose and mouth. According to Maui's account, she stood frozen at the edge of the bed as her mother looked at her until her eyes stopped moving. When Stephen noticed his daughter watching, he ordered her to go upstairs and warned her never to speak about what she had seen. This heartbreaking testimony revealed not only the trauma the child had endured, but also the premeditated nature of Stephen's actions in silencing a potential witness. After deliberating for just 3.5 hours, the jury returned with a unanimous guilty verdict on the charge of first-degree murder. On September 10, 2019, almost exactly 2 years after Crystal's death, Stephen McDowell was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Under Texas law, he must serve at least 25 years before becoming eligible for parole.